it's just the freedom that I've wanted for so long now. Like I've been striving for it easily for the past 6 years. Then it clicked for me, and that's basically how I went from 2K a month to 6.5 fixed. It's just absurd. My goal was to make this amount of money in about 5 years, and I did it in 1 month of joining the inner circle. And now I'm actually getting there. I'm actually experiencing that a bit. And once you start getting the benefits and the freedom, they're really like, and I don't think you can really go back to not having that. It's sort of a thing where you can really drop that again.
For the kind of audience, obviously you kind of started a business around the skill of video editing, right? Which, like I said, I think it's a skill that a lot of people kind of just aspire to have or aspire to start a business around. And you made it pretty successful. I mean, what was it at your peak at kind of 8K a month? And obviously I know you're kind of like bubbling around where you're at the moment, but yeah, bro, kind of like run me through like how you got started with that, where the scaling came from, all this kind of stuff.
Right, awesome. So I started editing videos at 11. Obviously not as a professional. It was the most simple, like the simplest Minecraft gameplays you can imagine. But it was my start, and I kept at it until when I was 14. I saw it as more of a monetize, like I could monetize it. Mostly because I've always seeked independence to some extent. And I wanted to like buy my own stuff and be able to make my own decisions to some extent. And that's when I started freelancing for clients here in Brazil. So I started working with local businesses here, and I would record like shoot videos and do mostly editing, which is when I started specializing a little bit more and getting better at the tools that I would need. So Premiere, After Effects. Until then, I was very amateur because it was just stuff for me. But when I started working with businesses, that's when I really started developing the knowledge, like technical knowledge a little bit better. So pacing, how to properly do insertions without taking away from the point of the video and things like that. But I kept at it from 14 until I was about 17 here in Brazil. And the thing was, I had a very packed schedule with recording and editing. I was basically always working, but I was feeling like financially that wasn't really matching. So I was working a lot and not really making what I should be making. And sort of the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I was doing the application process to study internationally, because I sort of always wanted to do that. And I got into a university with like a full tuition scholarship. I wouldn't need to pay anything of the tuition. I would just need to afford my living expenses. And when they sent the bill to me, I actually realized how poor it was, because the bill was for like $14,500, something like that for a year. It would be 4 years, and I wasn't even close to being able to afford that. I was making like $400 a month, $500 a month. And for me, in my currency, that was a bunch of money. But that was when sort of the bill slapped me in the face and showed me that I was making nothing. So I started trying to internationalize my skill, and changed from freelancing here in Brazil to freelancing abroad. And that was very positive for me. It was already like a big change. It was when I went from 400 to 500 to about 1 to 2K a month, which was already pretty solid. But I still, like, I was selling video editing, and that was making the scaling process extremely difficult. And that's when I reached out to you. So I already had sort of an established agency, but the agency was basically just it was a front for my video editing services. I could very well just be selling myself as video editing, because it wasn't a proper agency. I had no systems. I wasn't solving any specific problem. I was pretty much just doing whatever sort of editing the client needed. And I reached out to you. We talked a little bit. You believed I was a good fit for the inner circle, which was quite the difficult decision for me, because at the time I was making about 2K a month, and I wanted to buy a laptop for for a while. And I was sort of split between getting into the inner circle and getting myself a laptop. The price range was about the same. And with a lot of like difficulty, I chose the inner circle. So I've been editing on a computer for 10 years now. I can take another 3 months. Let's hope this is worth it. And yeah, I got into the inner circle. On our first call, really, I got the best insight that you could have given me, which was to stop selling video editing and to pair that to a solution and sell that. And I had heard that before, but it didn't feel like it applied to my situation. I listened to people saying that kind of stuff, and it felt way too broad. I couldn't cater specifically to the situation that I was at. And on our call, we were able to do that very clearly and find the type of client that I was going to be targeting a little bit more. And to be fair, like, business is unpredictable. From our first call, a bunch of things changed. The target client, it's not like I'm only work with my target client now, but having that clarity on what I was doing and what I was selling allowed me to take a call. Ironically, in the week that I joined, I've gotten 2 new leads from the same ways that I've gotten leads in the past, so referrals, and one came from Instagram. And beforehand, that would happen. They would reach out to me. I would try to pitch them on some sort of expensive video editing package, because for video editing, $2K is very expensive. And this time, I organized a pitch centered around content. So it would be sort of a content consultancy. And I was able to pitch a 4K retainer, and the client was down for it, which was a startup a startup in San Francisco, California, because they needed a lot of help with content. And for them, 4K was actually pretty cheap, close to what they would need to afford with some fancy marketing consultancy or whatever. And then it clicked for me. Like, I would be able to make with one client twice what I was making with all my video editing clients by just switching the offer from a video editing offer to a content consultancy offer where I would help them get into social media. In the end, I actually ended up I could have sold them the 4K package, but on our next few calls, I was able to talk to them a little bit more, and it would be way too much for them. They really didn't have the capacity for that, and although it put less money in my pocket, we ended up closing on a 2K retainer, which was still twice my average ticket on the video editing clients, but it wasn't as big. And still, it opened that door in my mind, and now I knew it was possible. So on my second call with the second lead that came that week, like, pitching 2K was incredibly easy. I had just gotten a yes for 4K. So, like, if you don't want 2, I don't even care. I know someone wants it. And yeah, they went for the 2K, and they were trying to negotiate that way. You see, maybe we don't have the budget for that. And I was just more confident than ever on what I could sell, because I had just gotten out of a sales call that was double the price. So I said, that's totally all right. If the solution doesn't fit your business right now, keep at it. Once you do reach out to me, but I'm really not willing to do anything for less than that. And lo and behold, they end up closing on the spot. So we start working together, and that's basically how I went from 2K a month to 6.5 fixed with those 2 clients. And that week in particular was easily the craziest week of my life, because the thing is, I live in Brazil, so my currency, the bad thing is that internationally my currency sucks. The good thing is, when you're making money internationally, if you live here, you're a king.
You're rich as anything.
This amount of money, this amount of money is absolutely crazy for me. What is a normal salary for anyone in the US or in England, which is about 6 to 8K a month, to me it's just absurd. My goal was to make this amount of money in about 5 years, and I made it in 1 month of joining the inner circle. And now I'm a bit more focused in operations, so I understand I understand tying my skill to a solution. I'm focusing a bit more on scaling now to get us over the 10K mark. I feel like that's the next sort of bottleneck. But I already have the safety that if everything goes wrong, I can get back here very quickly, because the switch of actually tying my skill to a solution has been turned. I don't have to worry about that again, and I know how to reach people, and I know how to show them that my service can actually aggregate a lot more value than I'm charging for. And this level of confidence was only possible because of the inner circle. I live in Brazil. Like most people here, most people that I have contact with, they don't. Their thought process is a lot different. So it's another universe entirely. If I were to tell someone that what we are making now, they would call me a liar easily, because the average, like the minimum income here is what's the name is minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's $220 a month. So 8K is a lot of money if you're making that monthly. Like I recently started giving some business advice to my parents, which feels very nice as well, because they for the biggest time I was seeing them commit like these mistakes, and they're both business owners as well, but locally here in Brazil. And they wouldn't listen to me, obviously, because I was a kid that wasn't making all that much. I was about pairing their, making a little bit less than they made, which was about 1K to 1.5K. And when I showed them side note, I quit college, which I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. I was in engineering school. Now I've been able to do that. But the conversation with them was a lot easier when I could show the results.
100%.
So I literally opened my Stripe account and I showed it to them, and I said, I'm not doing college anymore. It doesn't make sense, because the average salary for an engineer here in Brazil is $1,200 to $1,400 a month. Mm-hmm. So if I were to go to engineering school and be extremely successful, I might make 3K. I was almost tripling that with my business now. It really didn't make sense for me to keep going, to keep spending 4 to 5 hours of my day there. And yeah, I got those results first and was able to make that switch, which felt very good. Now my routine is much better now that I don't have to worry about that. And now I can talk to them and they will listen, which feels very good, because I spent so much time giving them advice that they wouldn't listen to as business owners. And I get them. I wouldn't listen to myself either. Mm-hmm. But now they do. Like my father started running ads. I'm helping him shoot some videos. He's learning English, which is so cool. Like he's a 51-year-old Brazilian guy who now took an English course, and I'm assisting him in that. And yeah, I feel like that switch wasn't only a business thing, and the money part is awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, I love money as much as the next guy, but I feel like the best part has been how my environment has changed. I feel like I'm a positive impact now. Like, my mother started working a little more on the communication with her clients, and has been able to improve her business as well. She has a catering business. My father started running ads. He finally started appearing on stuff and trying to get a little more. Started going to the gym with me, which was just amazing again. And yeah, it just feels like this extremely positive cycle came from just one small change in my business that has now changed my entire life. Even on by the way, the MacBook, 1 month after joining the inner circle, everything that I just said happened. So I bought it. I don't know if you remember on our first call, I was talking with like a big
yeah.
Wouldn't work if I didn't have the microphone in a very specific position. Right now I'm talking from a pair of AirPods Pro, which are much better than the headset in an M3 MacBook, the Max version, like the best I could buy, really. And it's just much easier to work with, and I would definitely have not been able to afford it before. So I not only got the MacBook that I wanted, but got a better version of it by tying my skill to a solution. And that's the 17-minute monologue on how it has been so far. I really appreciate it, man.
Of course. Of course, bro. No, something I noticed about you straight away is that even off the back of our first call, what we spoke about, you implemented it like that. Like the distance between like talking about it and taking action was I was pretty sure it was like the same day, if not the next day. And from that, obviously, the results came. And I think it is like fantastic because you already had the foundational skill. You were fucking good at video editing. Like I remember looking at the bits on your website and the kind of work you've done in the past. And it was like, I remember the chat we had, it was like, you're selling this to just average people. You have a premium service here. It needs to be sold accordingly. And I think that, yeah, you did that like extremely quickly. I also remember in our first call we were having, or maybe it was even before in the kind of sales call where you were like, what was the amount that you wanted to get to at which you could quit college? Because I think you then hit that a few weeks in. What was that amount?
Yeah, it was precisely 8K.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it was an amount that I had as a like I'm never going to hit that because I was so scared of quitting that I put in what in my mind was such a high number that it would be hard for me to reach it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got proven wrong pretty fast, but it was 8K. That's about 40,000 BRL. That's just an absurd amount in Brazilian reais. But I don't want to be thinking in BRL anymore, to be fair. Like I want to be targeting a little bit bigger. I'm way more ambitious now.
That's it, because it just kind of like, it opens up your perspective of what's possible. You know, before you're like, I get what you're saying as well. You make it so far out of reach so that it's almost less scary. And then when you hit it, your new goal changes. It's 10, it's 15, it's 20. And then obviously it just becomes ridiculous to even think about. I used to be at 2, 3K, which is cool how it just constantly evolves and stuff like that. And obviously you're from Brazil. And I talk to a lot of people and they kind of use that idea of being from, a traditionally third world country as like the biggest disadvantage to them. Do you see it as like an advantage to you in any way? Or like, how did you use that to your advantage?
There's this idea. I've edited a few videos for Ali Abdaal, and I've consumed a lot of his content. One thing that he touches a lot on is unfair advantages.
Yes.
And to some extent, like you're given a set of cards, and maybe being born in a third world country where the minimum wage is $200 isn't really the ideal scenario. But I really couldn't do much about it in the position that I was at. Like I wouldn't be able to travel legally, at least anywhere, and I wouldn't settle for anything less than making it big. And I was given a set of cards and I needed to do something with it. So yes, it is difficult. Mostly, I think that the biggest difficulty is the people that you have contact with. So the mindset of a place like the one that I live is extremely scarce. Like smaller than you can imagine. Because a scarce mindset in London is making $60,000 a year, or 60 pounds, 60,000 pounds a year. A scarce mindset in Brazil is making like 200 times, is making $6,000 a year. So it's a 10x difference. And being surrounded by that since you were born puts such a big amount of limiting beliefs in you that I wouldn't be able to notice. So the thing is, I had to identify what were the bad things of the scenario that I was at and how I could fix it. One very big one is surrounding yourself digitally with people that think bigger than you. So the inner circle, for example, was an awesome example of that. There was absolutely not a single person in the inner circle aimed to make $6,000 a year. That's not realistic. So surrounding myself with more ambitious people was very helpful, and it helped me sort of combat the worst part of living in the country that I live in. The big advantage is that, again, I was given a set of cards, so I had to find something good about it. At the start, you're able to undercut pretty much anyone with your pricing, because if you work for what you would make in Brazil, you are a and you actually provide value, you're a no-brainer. Now, to be fair, I don't think that's a good long-term strategy, being the cheap guy. And right now, our services are premium and priced accordingly. But for the longest time, my services were premium, and I was charging very little, because that helped me get my first clients. That helped me get contact with. That that increased my surface area for luck, per se, because I would get a lot of shots at editing videos, and that helped me a lot. So that's one advantage of living where I live at, where someone in London really wouldn't be able to edit a video for £10. That would actually be pretty good for someone in Brazil. So if you live in a third world country, I would say utilize that, but you utilize it wisely. So I would set up a clear timeline of the period where you would be charging little to get experience, and I wouldn't even think about the money. I would just get the money and make the best work that I could, and at the same time. Sorry, I lost a bit of my thought process there.
Very
but
good.
Now that I'm at a scale level, I have way easier access to talent than someone would in the United States, for example. Like I can, my current editor, I currently have an employee. He was making 3 times less than what he's making now working with us, and he is excellent. He has good English. I know I can count on him, and I know this sort of talent would be extremely hard to find for the price that I'm paying now. So cheaper, higher quality talent by living in Brazil. So it was basically a situation of just analyzing the cards that I was dealt, the advantages and working for it. If you really want it, you actually want it, just stop whining and go for it.
No, absolutely love that. I love that. And of course, once you can undercut people, you start to stack those case studies, right? Those testimonials, that proof. And you know, the best way to sell anything is saying, here's 10 versions I've just previously done, or 10 examples of how I've helped people. It's an absolute kind of like cheat code, especially. And now obviously you're at the stage where you're it's not just, it's a side hustle, you know, you're running a business, you've got an employee, and I believe you're taking on another one, or have you?
Yeah, I already have. He's currently on a trial period, so I'm not paying him a retainer yet. I'm paying him per project. But yeah, we're onboarding our second employee.
Amazing. No, it's absolutely fantastic, and I just think the biggest difference I see is just your growth mindset. Like a lot of it is just like, well, you know, the positive out of this situation, because I know even when you kind of hit your peak, it went down a bit and you had a few troubles whilst, because it almost like it was a good problem to have, where it kind of toppled over front heavy, because you were like, I've got so many clients, but now I need to build up the back end systems, right? And even when we talk about that, it's just that kind of like constant growth mindset of like, cool, well, it doesn't matter, we kind of go back to basics, we build up the foundations, and obviously you scale accordingly. And I think that, I don't know whether you think that is like, you know, you either just have that or you don't have that, but you definitely did. And I think that just helps you kind of just make that constant progress, even though it may not be kind of 0 to 100, but it is a constant kind of upwards grind. Do you feel like you just kind of naturally have that mindset, or do you think you kind of developed it?
I'm naturally very, very ambitious, but I don't think I necessarily have the right mindset in place to achieve the things that I have achieved, and most importantly to achieve the things that I'm on track to achieve. So it was more of a, like, I wanted to get big things so much that at some point I had to realize that growing would be the path to it. And consuming, you probably know, but Alex Hormozi touches on that a lot, and I consume a lot of his content, and it really helped me to understand the mindsets that back the people that I admire. So I admire him a lot, and obviously he's like, at this point, a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. But I really believe that you become the type of person that makes $1 million much before you actually make them, and getting this mindset in place helped me become the sort of person that achieves the goals that I want to achieve. And bottom line is just being extremely, extremely stubborn. I won't stop. Like, even if we lost all of our clients now, I want it. I tasted sort of, now that I tasted a little bit of the freedom, and to be fair, I wasn't as persistent before, but now I know it's possible. Like I have counted, and I'm not dropping it. And 100%. Every time, like, there's this, so every cycle counts with the highs and the lows. There are periods of absolute chaos where every client is sort of reaching out to me, and my employee got sick at the worst moment possible. So these moments do happen, but whenever I'm in the middle of the chaos and I stop for a bit, like, and I look around, the situation just keeps getting better and better. Right now, in the middle of the chaos, I can put my laptop in my bag, which was absolutely impossible for me before, and go to a cafe and work there and chill out a bit.
Go to the beach, bro.
Yeah, these moments are becoming better. Yeah, to the beach. I went working. I was bored recently, and I took a bus and went to the beach and went working there. I recently booked my first trip to my first international trip to Boston, and I'm going there for a while.
That's
and,
awesome.
Yeah, it's just the freedom that I've wanted for so long now. Like I've been striving for it easily for the past 6 years, and now I'm actually getting there. I'm actually experiencing that a bit. And once you start getting the benefits and the freedom, they're really like, and I don't think you can really go back to not having that. It's sort of a thing where you can really drop that again.
100%. And bro, you got to start making more content, because your story is so incredibly inspiring, just to the fact of like where you're at and the kind of journey you've been through. So you got to start ramping that up, and of course to get more clients out of it, but we will talk about that. But no, Samuel, I massively appreciate it, bro. And actually the funny thing is, I believe you were actually the second or the third member into the inner circle from when I launched it. So like you were one of the first, because we had our sales call, right, and you kind of had to push it back a bit because you had to wait until you got paid, blah blah blah. And I think you're like, yeah, the second, maybe even the first, I don't know, one of the top first three students, which is super cool to know that it's, you know, it's an aspect of it has worked. But yeah, 100%. I think your journey is super inspiring, and obviously give yourself the biggest pat on the back, because everyone goes through the same training, right? But not everyone makes it, because you need to have the mindset and the kind of the willingness to just apply absolutely everything as you did. But no, massively appreciate you, bro.